Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, while also highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video I'm playing one of the October 2025 PlayStation Plus games, Alan Wake 2, the sequel to the 2010 action-adventure game that released in 2023. I played through the first Alan Wake game years ago, but I honestly don't remember a thing aside from shadows, a lake, and a flashlight. Fans of the game have been asking for the sequel for years now though, and while I barely recall any of the important details, I think most players would agree that it was worth the wait, so let's just talk about it.
Let's go.
Alan Wake 2 follows two different characters, Saga Anderson, who's an FBI agent investigating a series of ritualistic murders, and Alan Wake himself, who's trapped in a surreal nightmare world. It's a dual protagonist story that switches back and forth between them, and their paths connect in really interesting and unexpected ways. Even having not remembered much of anything about the first game, this one is surprisingly easy to follow, within the context of a mystery narrative at least.
That seems pretty complicated to me.
The tone mixes true crime investigation with a supernatural twist that leans a little into Lovecraft territory, and the combination works really well. You'll definitely get more out of it if you already know the story and the lore, but it's perfectly playable on its own if you don't.
How about that?
Saga is a great new character. She's sharp and capable, but not without flaws. She's portrayed as someone who's capable of solving any mystery, but the writing gives her a lot of personality without turning her into an arrogant cliché. Her sections of the game are typically more grounded and investigative, while Alan's are much more surreal and puzzle-heavy, but there's enough of an overlap that it never feels like you're playing two completely different games. For me, the story was the real highlight as well, and I actually found myself more drawn to watching the story unfold than playing the game itself, not because the gameplay is bad, but because the mystery and atmosphere are just that compelling.
Okay, let's talk about something else.
Alan Wake 2 is a narrative-driven survival horror game with puzzle-solving and detective elements, often blending horror with the investigations. You'll explore, collect clues, build case files, and talk to people while keeping an eye out for enemies, and there's a good balance between the slow-paced detective work and the tense fight-or-flight moments.
It's right up your alley.
Saga's Mind Place and Alan's Writer's Room are great mechanics that let you pause and piece things together in a way that feels natural to the story too. You can instantly jump to these spaces since they exist within their respective minds, and both areas additionally double as upgrade hubs. Alan's sections even sometimes let him rewrite the world around him to progress the story, which is one of the most creative mechanics in the game.
It changed the story, and with that, the dark place changed.
Navigation can be a little awkward, especially in the darker areas as well as the ones that require some manipulation, so you'll probably end up checking the map more often than you'd like, and NPCs also tend to bump into you whenever you're walking somewhere, which can get annoying fast. There's also an issue where the dialogue sometimes keeps playing when you open up the Mind Palace, but you can't actually tell unless the subtitles are on, which isn't ideal for immersion.
What?
The semi-open areas encourage backtracking and exploration, and while that sometimes hurts the pacing if you get sidetracked, they're packed with detail and feel lived in, creating a more realistic world. Aside from those other issues, the game does teach you everything else that you need to know, but it doesn't hold your hand, and while some checkpoints can be spaced a little too far apart, it is manageable as long as you're paying attention to your surroundings.
You're in over your head.
On the other side of the gameplay, Alan Wake 2's combat is built around lights and guns, using forms of light to burn the protective layer of darkness off of enemies before you take them down.
With the gun and flashlight, I could fight back.
Fights can be tough, especially against multiple enemies, though the game does let you adjust difficulty on the fly, and you can even enable accessibility options like infinite ammo or invulnerability if you just want to get through it. The survival horror elements are where the tension really shines though. As the genre implies, you're constantly managing limited ammo and healing items, and enemies are unpredictable in a way that keeps you on edge.
Well, I'm glad you were the one to say it.
Overall, though, I did find myself caring more for the narrative-heavy moments rather than the combat ones, mostly because I was just so interested in the story, though. The horror in Alan Wake 2 is handled really well. It's less in your face than something like Resident Evil would be, and closer to something like Silent Hill or Twin Peaks with its psychological elements.
You must write to escape.
The atmosphere does a lot of the heavy lifting, using lighting and camera work to create tension even when there aren't any enemies around, and the ambient sound design is fantastic too, so if you've got a good pair of headphones and want to immerse yourself, then make sure you use them. Combat encounters are stressful in the best way too, since resources are limited and enemies are unpredictable. There are a bit too many jump scares and screen flashes for my taste, since I usually prefer subtle and environmental horror over loud stingers, but the execution of everything else is so well done that it kinda makes up for it.
Damn impressive work so far.
It's not a game that's going to give you nightmares, but it definitely knows how to make you uncomfortable and takes advantage of that even when there's no imminent danger around. Alan Wake 2 looks fantastic. I wouldn't say it's the best looking game ever made, but it's easily near the top of the list as of 2025.
I'm already hooked.
Facial animations can be a little off during standard dialogue, but everything else looks great, especially in quality mode. The lighting and reflections, especially in the rain, really stand out, and the whole Pacific Northwest setting helps it shine even more.
You name it, we probably got it.
The sound design and music choices are excellent as well, and each chapter ends with a sequence that feels like the closing credits for an episode of TV, fitting the game's tone perfectly. Voice acting is strong across the board, aside from one or two slightly slightly over-the-top performances, but even then, they still work within the style.
I can't say I feel the same.
The game also includes some live-action sequences, sometimes on in-game TV screens and other times blended directly into the gameplay, and they're used in clever ways that enhance the surreal tone and transitions.
The joke's on me.
Camera angles during cutscenes feel like something straight out of a detective show too, giving it that cinematic and stylized feel. There are some minor issues with how light reflects or seeps through certain objects, but overall, it's a gorgeous game.
Like a scene from a thriller.
As far as how the game runs, I don't really have any complaints. I played in quality mode, and even then, load times were fast, and I didn't run into any major bugs or crashes beyond the occasional clipping issue, and for a game this large and mechanically complex, that's impressive. Manual saving does take a little longer than you'd expect, but it's a small trade-off for how smooth everything else is. Alan Wake 2 is a slower, darker, and more deliberate experience than most horror games, but I think that's what makes it stand out.
This is right up my alley.
The writing is sharp, the atmosphere is expertly crafted, and the way it ties gameplay and storytelling together feels purposeful and confident. It can be a little confusing at times, especially when navigating certain areas, but that uncertainty fits the game's tone, keeping you off balance whenever it can.
You have the worst sense of direction.
If you're expecting fast-paced action, the pacing might feel slow early on, but once it clicks, it's an experience that really draws you in. The combat isn't the main attraction anyway though, but it serves the game well.
If you say so.
So if you like horror games that are unsettling without leaning too much on jump scares, or even just stories that make you think long after you finish them, Alan Wake 2 is worth playing. The game isn't going to be for everyone, but I think that for those who connect with it, it's gonna be something special.
I just wanted you to have all the facts.
As always though, this is just my opinion. Whether you're just starting to investigate the cult of the tree, or you've already become entangled within the bigger conspiracy, let me know in the comments what you think of Alan Wake 2.
Show me the terror.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.